potatoes. That's one of the crops that, well, it changes the system a little bit within the rotation. And then I'll have Chris and Brandon talk.
Well, we basically do corn and soybeans and malting barley, and then some potatoes. Our acres have been reduced some in potatoes. We do early dig, and the last couple, 3 years, the plant hasn't needed as much early dig. So without storage, we're kind of limited on our potato acres. But we've been really happy with no-till over the years, but there are some problems. You know, we started out with the John Deere no-till without the sideband about, 13 years ago, I believe. And had pretty good success, but then when we traded up to a sideband fertilizer, helped a lot. And to start with, we did a lot of soybeans and corn stalks without a chopper header or anything, so stalks are standing there just with a stripper header, and went right through it with the no-till, and had pretty good success. But there was one year in particular where it was very evident that the residue can cause problems with soil warming, and it might have been partly the spring, but we had a pivot of corn, same soil, pretty even soil, sandy loam. Half of it we chopped silage and half we'd combine. We went in with the corn planter and seeded, drove on the stalks, and complete no-till planter, and seeded between the prior year's corn rows with soybeans, 30-inch row soybeans. And it was just dramatic where we chopped silage. The beans just came up and did marvelous, and the other beans were slow and yellow and were way behind. I mean, you could see it all season. And the yield was quite a bit better where we chopped the silage. And the only reason I can think of is the residue, actually held the soil cooler in the spring. And later years now, we've experimented more with doing some minimum till on corn residue. We run the disc over light in the fall, and that seems to help some get the ground warmer. Last spring, we did purchase a Summers, what do you call those things, the vertical tillage, that type of operation. We're experimenting with that. The jury's still out if it's helping, but I kind of think that'll help warm the ground up a little and kind of evens the residue out. So that's kind of what we're doing. After potatoes, of course, the ground is all loose and you have to chop up the stalks with a disc. So it's very fragile. We do our potatoes and, of course, our nice sandy soil. And if I do put corn on potato ground or beans, we actually go in and seed barley on it early for cover and then take it out with Roundup when the other crop is coming, because otherwise corn and beans are too slow to cover the ground and we'd lose it with wind erosion. That's always a sad fact when we get that high wind in the spring and see your crop kind of cut off with the wind. So we don't like to see that. So we do try to keep cover on potato ground as much as possible. But then after potatoes, I'll either do barley, which comes quick. We do see, really good crop following the tillage of potatoes. But then after that, I'll do, like if I do corn on potato ground, I'll do that the first year, then beans, and then back to barley, and then our potatoes again. We don't follow potatoes after corn, either beans or barley. That's what we found works the best. That's just kind of the basic operation we do. We do farm about 15 pivots or so, so we do quite a few acres of barley, and then, like I say, corn and soybeans. Probably 1 or 2 pivots of potatoes this time.
Yeah, no, we'll go to Chris and Brandon here, and then maybe touch on, like, have you noticed, like, the disease issues or things with that have affected the, like, with that residue there and stuff. But we'll get to Brandon and Chris, and they're, like they mentioned, they're from Beaufort Trenton, and I don't know, you can tell about how long you've been doing it and what you've seen, and
I first started no-tilling, 12 or 13 years ago when I started farming on just dry land and stuff. Barley, yellow peas, little corn, sunflowers. We've tried about everything at least once. We like to try new things. Some things have worked pretty well, and we stick with them, and some things have not worked very well at all, and we're still dealing with some of those things. We've predominantly I guess our main crop is sugar beets, but we also we try to rotate that with malt barley on the irrigated stuff, and then in the dry land, it's a lot of pulses and barley and wheat durum and other stuff. With the sugar beets, we've tried no-till beets, we've tried strip-till beets, and we've had some good successes, and there's some real challenges with growing sugar beets on a strip-till or no-till situation. The things we like about the sugar beets is the wind damage. You get protection from the wind early on when those beets are a little tiny. And then another thing is just the savings in the fuel and labor in the fall. You know, it's a lot of time, a lot of trips back and forth across the field. And also, we've had pretty good stand establishment with our beets in either a strip till or a no-till situation. As far as getting stand counts and the vigor, I guess we haven't seen a whole lot of reduction, but we're comparing this field here versus this field a few miles away. We're not doing it side by side and taking stand counts. Probably, I don't know how statistically accurate our trials are. We're just kind of trying this and see if it works, and then we count on Lyle to kind of organize the trials, and he sort of helped organize some of that. Yeah, I guess that's all I have. I guess if you had questions, I can answer questions.
When you did the strip till and no till for the beets, did you notice like maybe 1 to 2 weeks difference in emergence for the stand establishment? Like let's say planting in the late April.
Emergence actually seemed the same. We probably like 5 years ago we started out just doing no-till. We put the trash wheels on the front of our planter and just planted in the stubble. But what I noticed the biggest issue was with compaction. Like the seeds just we couldn't get down into the ground in those wheel tracks. So then last year was the first year we did strip till, and I got a beet strip. It was a brilliant machine that stripped down about 10 inches, but it was a big fight this summer trying to spray and plant. The tractor just wanted to slide down into that soft area between the rows. So this fall we got a different coulter system. It's a Dawn Fergus unit, which is only about 5 inches down, which I think it'll get that. It'll have a dark soil that you can plant into, so it should warm up faster. And it should be firm in between the rows. So we don't know what we're going to find from it, but we're excited to see. And we got that set up with an air cart, so we banded fertilizer down in the strips, and we cut our rate back, put down about 70% of what we were going to broadcast. So we'll be testing that summer to see what kind of differences, or if we need to add in more.
One year it was malting barley the year before, and we went in there with the no-till and trash whippers. And when the stand came up, it was obvious that there was something going on with the stand. I'm thinking moisture. And then as the beets got bigger, you could start to see a pattern. And here was the combine tracks from the year before, where we made some kind of curvy pattern through the field, and we didn't get beets coming up in the combine tracks from the year before, and we just didn't have enough down pressure to get the beets down. You know, a sugar beet seed is kind of finicky. If you miss your moisture level by a quarter of an inch, you can have a dry seed. Whereas if you're in the moisture, you get a good stand, and that's what had happened. And so then the next year we tried a strip till with the deeper shank, and we found that when you tried to spray that, your sprayer went right over on top of your beets, and then we kind of fought that. So then we changed to a different type of strip till. Well, Brandon and I keep trying stuff. We're going to try to make it work, and I guess my dad's not all. I'm farming with my dad, and he's a little bit not so fired up about it. I think there is a yield drag with going to a no-till or a strip-till sugar beet. I don't know how much it is, and I think there's technology out there to overcome some of those challenges. You know, like the planters, the precision planting, and the fertilizer placement. I think is going to help a lot.
Your no-till beets, do you see they grow up out of the ground more than a conventional system? Is that an issue? Stay on them without the deep tillage anymore?
what do you see in the root? I mean, is the root, has it changed with the no-till versus where we used to plow and deep rip?
This I haven't noticed.
There's probably, there is probably some compaction issues where it definitely doesn't just grow down a nice long, as much as it did, but we haven't done a whole lot of digging to compare it yet. I'm pretty fresh in.
Because in my mind, that's one of the big issues with the sugar beet. I mean, if you can have that residue, you can figure out a way to get that seed to come up, you got that protection. But the compaction issues of getting that nice deep taproot every year. I mean, that's one thing, like I noticed in this, and then I mean, you guys can kind of talk on it, but when you hit that layer, the sugar beet, like even where I rip, if I got an area where I don't get that deep tillage, I'll have the beet go down like this far, and then I've got all these little hairs where it hits something hard, where it just doesn't keep sending down. And so, I mean, if that's not an issue, to me, that would be, I think, one of the big issues. And if you're not seeing that, I mean, that would be great.
We've been told that was nematodes that cause that.
Here, well, out there, I wouldn't have that as a problem. I mean, it's just a compaction layer that it's hitting where then it just kind of sends and then binds roots down.
Yeah. I think compaction is one of our challenges, and we're trying to do what we can to alleviate that.
One other thing we're trying is, we put down a cover crop this fall on one field, 40 acres. As soon as we took the barley off, planted radishes and turnips, and then we're gonna try no-till, trimming some of that next year and see what kind of results we get.
Well, you got anything you want to add with like things you've seen with different practices people use and stuff?
No, I would say the biggest thing that I've noticed is, as everyone can imagine, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Like, I mean, the problem that Bill's facing and Tyler's facing on that coarser ground is not the same problem that maybe Hoffman boys are facing down in Beaufort Bottoms where they're working with heavy gumbo ground. I think that you need to find a system suited to your production needs and goals. And I mean, when you're doing no-till, you've got to have a goal at the end of the day. What are you trying to do? I mean, are you trying to conserve water? Are you trying to nutrient cycling? Are you trying to reduce weeds, chemical costs? Like, what is your goal? And then you need to adjust your operation to fit that goal. If you're trying to do no-till, you don't have row cleaners, you're not going to like no-till the first year. You're going to get a really crappy stand, and you'll think it's the worst thing ever. So I think fitting all of those needs together and what your goal is the biggest thing.
I think he's right. There's certain things, I think, within the systems, even on that presentation I had on the 3 crops, there are tools or equipment for planting that would better suit each one of those than, like, I'm going across with one seeder all the way across all 3, where if you were to match a particular piece of equipment with each one, which, I mean, it's, if you're going to no-till, you'd have that, but in this kind of system or research, I'm comparing one piece of equipment across all 3. It's an issue, and I think you guys probably deal with it too, with your trash whippers, when we're going across these 3 different tillages. We've got softer soil, the conventional till, I mean, you've worked it so many times. You hit that hard stuff. There's a number of years I've stopped at each one of those, go over my trash whippers, raise them up. Because I don't know if you remember on that one slide, I think it was the soybeans, you seen where the seed was kind of in a little trench, and here it's sitting on top and growing through corn. There's a lot of things that influence the entire process. And one thing, I mean, we're talking about here is basically, we're talking these reduced tillage, we're talking from the ground up all morning. Well, what's going on from that ground down? I mean, I can't even go into that stuff. That's over my head. I mean, the soil health aspect of it. So you're talking, does anybody have any questions? I mean, we're going to keep going into some questions here for a couple more minutes. Anybody have anything right now? Yeah.
Do either of you feel like you've been doing it long enough to know what the calculator says you're doing the right thing?
think in the dry land no-till, I think absolutely. The stuff that's been no-till 13, 14 years now, I can tell the difference when I go from say a new field that been conventional till, that maybe we just picked up a field and then you go in there with the air seeder to the dry land field that's been no-till for a decade or more. Yeah, I think all the research and all the proponents of no-till in western North Dakota, eastern Montana, I think it's
To the point where they drastically affect the bank account.
well. I guess I don't know how drastically it is, but I mean if you go from 25 bushel wheat to 38 bushel wheat or something, how much of it is the timing of the rain and how much of it is the moisture that you're conserving? I don't know. We don't do a whole lot of scientific observation and measurement on our farm. This seems to work. As far as the beets go, we farm about half of our operations acres are Brandon and me, and half are my dad's. And he won't do any minimum till or strip till. Just won't touch that one. And his yields are a little bit better. He doesn't really give us the best ground to farm right away, so that might be part of it. But definitely, I don't know. There's some challenges we're working with on the sugar beets.
I might add that, when I started no-tilling, I thought, this just isn't going to work, because I'm kind of old school, the black summer fellow artifact, all my neighbors when we started farming. And so I was a little skeptical, but minimum till has been a huge plus overall. There are challenges, and a lot of them have already been mentioned. One thing I forgot to mention that we've been doing with our no-till corn planter, we've got liquid, but it's hard to get enough volume down, even though sidebound we can get starter down. So we just run over with our no-till John Deere, put fertilizer in all 3 tanks, run it out every boot, seed and fertilizer, and dump a bunch of phosphorus and nitrogen down, incorporated them with the no-till planter. We run a little angle, so it doesn't seem to affect germination. And I know Tyler's been doing more broadcasting and probably getting about the same results. So the jury's out on what's better. In my mind, it seems like it's better to get the phosphorus and potash in the ways. And, it's really hard to figure just broadcasting the volume of fertilizer we use and getting it in with the soil. Other than that, I'd just like to comment too that Tyler and all of the experiment farm guys work a lot next door. We work together a lot. What a wonderful bunch we have. I think they've done such a wonderful job. We drive by there, and sometimes we see what we did wrong, sometimes we see what they did wrong. Overall, it's a wonderful thing to have there, and they do a great job. I think we need a hand for the experiment farm boys.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. One thing, since you're using both systems, we had talked on disease. Did you notice any difference this year where you had maybe something worked and didn't on anything? Lyle, that you would be, or Mike James here, those that are out there, are there things that you notice or that you've noticed with, say, the reduced tillage versus people that still work as far as disease issues?
I've seen disease pressure in the area increase greatly. Be it seed-borne diseases or foliar diseases, both, and they're increasing a lot. And it could be because the environment's changing, but I contributed most of it to the reduced till. 2 years ago, we had Goss's wilt, extremely bad in corn. Goss's wilt, it's a residue, and it wiped out fields. Fields that should have yielded 150, say 200 bushel corn was down 80 bushel, 70 bushel. That's one of the big things, is that introduction of the reduced till or no till.
You guys, for as far as that goes?
On our beets, we do everything we can to battle rhizostonia on our field, but it's kind of been in battle with rhizoc for well before we started with the strip till and no-till beets. Yeah. say, we don't compare it side by side. It's always this field versus that field a few miles away, and the variety might be different, the tillage is different, fertility is different, so we don't get a very scientific study on our farm.
I don't think any of our strip till beets had that disease this year, where some of our conventional till did, so. There wasn't a definite line where we had a lot more disease this year anyway.
We see the definite lines on variety differences versus the tillage difference.
I had just a little bit of bomb show up in barley this year. I did not spray the head spray we put the tilt on earlier. But so far we've been getting into bush ag, so knock on wood, we've gotten a few loads in, it's looking okay, but I had a couple tests earlier that were slightly high, so we might have to try cleaning some, so I feel that, we'll be able to market it. We did have some white mold show up in some soybeans, and I don't know why, it was just on one pivot, and it was all on corn. So all of my pivots of beans were on previous corn ground, all treated exactly the same. And it was actually on the lighter, sandier soil where white mold showed up. Overall, I still have the best bean crop ever, but that one field, it did reduce the yields probably 25-30% or more. I have beans that are just fabulous. And I think just the irrigated beans alone, we create that rainforest environment. And I might try to go to more seeding with the corn planter. It's kind of nice to go in with the big no-till and seed the beans, but the corn planter 30-inch rows probably would be an advantage. I know Tyler's done some.
We've been doing some work, we've got some results that I guess I don't have here right now, but they're on high disease years, I think there's benefit. When you don't have the disease pressures, we found the higher yields in the narrower rows, but I think in the higher disease years, there would be some benefits.
The narrow rows certainly are easier for weed control. It's probably going to take one or two less Roundup applications because you get the cover right away.
And disease being a big issue is, there was a number of hands of people with reduced tillage. If you had some conventional, did you see any differences between the two on disease issues this year? Like they said, one field to the next, you can have it, but you could have that if it was, no matter what. Anybody? Okay. I know, I guess just to talk quick on quick personal reference too, is at home, my dad's went no-till now 3 years, has it been, 3 or 4? And one thing that I'm going to try to convince him this winter to try a little bit is run cattle on all this stuff. So is there opportunity for maybe some of this covered crop where we can utilize it for the fall grazing, plus what is it going to do for the soil, things like that. But my experience has been very successful, and that's under flood irrigation. It's a grain soybean rotation, so you can still utilize the dike and the flood. But I know, Doug, you've this year, like I made a comment the other day when we were hauling calves, that there's a lot of no-till acres on them bottoms now are very reduced tillage. And now you went to it. Do you like it? Is it something you're going to continue to try? Or?
Time in the fall.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things. I don't think we really understand, with the diseases and stuff, how this residue is going to affect long term, but definitely for the short term, there are a lot of benefits from a labor standpoint. I know I'm doing, like you see the size of the plots, they're pretty small. It still takes me almost a full day to make them 6 passes just across 9 acres. But I know I'm doing a lot of turning, but there's that right there in itself. Jim in the background does a lot of soil monitoring down there, and every year with the neutron probes, I'd say we can go back a number of years, that initial reading in the no-till is significantly higher than the other, I use the word significant, it's higher than the other 2 treatments every year. And so we're starting out in that sandy soil with a higher moisture content. And we have done a lot of soil sampling, and organic matter within this rotation has started to come up after this many years, after 8 years within the system. So we are are seeing some benefits. I mean, like I said, the stuff that's going on below the soil surface, that's an intense thing. So I don't know how to clearly understand all that, but, I guess,
One thing, I had a field that was corn, I no-till soybeans into it, under flood irrigation, I thought, there's no way I'm getting water pushed across here with all the residue up, is there? Irrigated just field I had.
and so I think there's a lot, there are options, and it's awesome people are considering these options. I think one thing, like Chris was saying, comparing field to field, and I've had people approach me on even different varieties and stuff. If you can somehow, like if you want to compare a tillage system, you can work half your pivot or half your field, leave the other half. I mean, that's giving you a very close side-by-side comparison. I mean, it's not, sometimes I think we have to focus so much on the research side of it, because that's what we're here for. So we've got everything replicated, designed in a certain way. But it gives you an opportunity to see a side-by-side comparison in your same field. And I know visiting with Mike Ames, he asked me here the other day why I till so much at Ness on some stuff. The system down there with variety trials and this and that, we have to. I mean, we've got a planner that, I mean, I need areas that I can get good seed soil contact. Our planner, it's not a no-till planner, so we have those issues. Ideally, yeah, it wouldn't have to, because there's a lot of issues with that sand down there come fall. I mean, it's, I've found, like with the potatoes, a lot of years you leave the vines sitting there. I've found in my strips, if I can disc them lightly to kind of incorporate or push them vines down in, they'll hold better. Otherwise, I've had in the past these strips, and I've got vines piled this tall because they just sit and they roll and roll and roll, and they get bigger. And then behind that pile of vines, I've got a nice dirt drill where it's blowing all winter